Tyler, dude, right now you're doing $63,000 a month on school, like per month. That's pretty insane. And the coolest thing about that we can get into a little bit later is that you're doing it across three separate communities. So you kind of have like some different offers, which is kind of cool. I think that's actually more impressive in my opinion because you have like a diverse audience that you're helping, and that means your product is very good.
See the different communities separately on different I have different browsers for each
Yeah,
one. And so now that we actually do add it up, and we have a great team across all the communities that are pulling in the same direction, but it's pretty awesome.
that's cool.
Yeah, what we built.
I want to dive into a little bit more into like Tyler and like what was his situation kind of like before joining Course or anything like that. Like, how did you kind of get started?
Perfect. Well, I mean, I'll probably go two or three steps back. So
Yeah.
I'm a coach. I'm a basketball coach. I coached college basketball, played college and professional basketball, got out of college coaching and ran the largest basketball camps in North America for 14 years and grew that company. Up until about just over 4 years ago, I actually thought that the future of education was online. This really is the culmination of a shift in my belief from like an in-person education, and COVID really, kickstarted that as well.
Yeah.
From like in-person basketball camps to like I think virtual access to open up a global market. Is with all the tools that we have now is really going to be the future of education. I think we see that in secondary education as well. And at the end of the day, I'm a teacher as a coach, and so I started searching for the best platforms to build my online educational content. And I started in my area of expertise, which is basketball. So about 4 years ago, I transitioned away from coaching athletes in person to actually coaching coaches. And that's where Savvy Basketball Coaching started. We developed our own app and we kind of hung out there, bounced around some different platforms. And then I found school. And the moment I found school, I believe in the value of coaching. I'm like, I don't know what I don't know. I need to find the experts in school. And so I found what is now Course and dove in right away. Because I believe if there's someone else that has done it well, you might as well just follow their exact playbook and not try to figure it out for yourself. I think mastery comes after you walk as far as you can in other people's footprints. So I just copied everything that I saw you guys doing as you went through and won your school games. I just said, oh, that's cool. Let me build that into my community.
Yeah, that's super impressive. And you kind of just touched on it a little bit, but what was like that one decision that made you want to kind of get into Course? And also like what were like the expectations like jumping in? Like what would you kind of think that you would get out of it?
Yeah. The decision for me was easy. One of my mentors said that the number one investment you can ever make is investing in yourself.
Mm,
And and unless you actually have skin in the game, you're not going to really value any of the content, education, and training that you get. And so, the decision was easy. I just looked around and it seemed like the best in class for specific training in school. And so I bought it, really without a lot of research. For me, I feel like the proof was in your guys' success in growing your community. And so that was really easy. And then my expectations were just to basically scour for best practices. I went through the entire training module and then just like day in, day out would assign things to different members of the team and say, do this, take this module, do this, some of the things I do myself. And then after I did it once, I recognized, okay, there's an enhancement or an adjustment that I can make specific to our community and our needs. But yeah, I would say I got the playbook that I needed out of it. That was my expectation.
I like what you said there as well, right? Like the biggest investment that you can make is into yourself, right? So, and people think that sometimes people tend to take that a little bit differently. They think that, they should really just focus solely on themselves and try to do everything on their own. But you kind of looked at it in like the opposite direction, right? Like you're putting your investment into something else that's therefore going to bring value back to yourself. So that in its own way is kind of like investing into yourself, which I really like. And I was the same way, right? Like following the path of somebody that's done the same thing and just kind of, you guys obviously you had great knowledge in your thing before, and now you took knowledge from somebody that's like built an online course and you're able to kind of like merge those two together, and you guys are absolutely crushing it now. So that's really cool. But yeah, that's kind of going into my next thing is like, I want you to boast and brag a little bit, Tyler. Like, what have you guys been able to do since kind of like jumping into school and course? And like, obviously, you guys just won, like you said, you guys have back to back to back top three in the sports category on school. So like tell people a little bit about like what you guys have been able to do, what you've been able to achieve and things like that.
Yeah. I think that so there's a business book called Traction that has really guided my leadership of our different business entities. And so in this book, it proposes, a way to plan called establishing quarterly rocks set in stone, immovable
Mm,
objects. And so we established some rocks for Q1. And that really is what started it. And one of the rocks was win school games in
nice.
Q1. And so everything we just kind of backtracked it from there. So we made the hires that we needed to make. We established the email captures and lead gens that we needed to establish. We, created the social content that we needed to create. We worked on our simple, irresistible offer, and really just listen. And I would say this is really what allowed us to, go from we're already doing like pretty good business, like 20K a month in the Savvy coaching, our coach consulting. But what really allowed us to grow that significantly was understanding our client. And we hadn't done as much of that before, but like we just moved an entire department and we named it the home team. So like
Mm,
if they're part of our home team, if they're current clients, like you're just going to dive in, add value, understand what really matters to them, and we're going to double down on it. And then that's what we're going to communicate out as our simple offer. We're not going to focus on the bullet points of what they get. Instead, we're going to tell the story of the coaches that were already in our community. And so people are like, oh, I want that. It doesn't matter if I get one coaching call or two coaching calls. It doesn't matter how many hours of course content you have. Like what's the journey that I'm going to go on as a customer? And we just kind of told the story of that journey. And we did the same thing for pickleball school. Like we added over 130 new members in the last week to our pickleball school in the last week that closed out school games because we knew we wanted to win. And it really was around what we're calling our 30-day challenge. We identified that the majority of our customers were between this rating, there's a rating system at pickleball of 3.5 to 4.0.
mm,
And that's where the vast majority of our customers were. So we said 30-day challenge, we'll move you from 3.5 to 4.0 in 30 days. It doesn't matter how we do it, doesn't matter what the videos are, it doesn't matter how many times we meet. It's just like, no, this is the journey you're going to go on. Do you trust us? And that's really what allowed us in that one to, add those 120 something people in 7 days and add 10K MRR in the 3-month period.
mhm.
So I think those would be the specifics of, the results we've gotten and what we've learned is understand the customer, explain to them what their journey is going to be, not what are, the value worth $500. No,
Yeah.
like where are you going to end up? Like what's the result? And I'd say the last thing is like, honestly, our churn, especially in pickleball school, is incredibly low. We're under 1%.
Wow.
And right, that's crazy, right? I think
Yeah.
we're at 0.8 for the last 7-day period that I looked at
And
last
what's the
week.
price point on that?
That one is 37 or $39 a month.
Mhm.
That one's $39 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, 37 or 39. I can't remember what we changed. One of those two. And in all of our communities, we want to do things that are unsustainable with customer service and being highly relational. So like we have like no comment in the community goes without a reply over a 24-hour period from one of our moderators,
Mm.
which I just haven't seen anywhere else. And so like the level of relationship I think is incredibly high. The amount of like live trainings and live calls that people jump on is incredibly high. So
Nice.
I think that's and that came out of partially my experience, but also a little bit in my experience with you guys at Kourse is like I know like the moment I signed up, I got a personal touch. There was follow up. What do you need? And even if I didn't utilize it, which many times I did, I'm like, hey, I feel like I've got great information here. I'm just executing. Just knowing that there was that personal touch added a lot of inherent value for me, knowing that it was there if I needed it. So I wanted to duplicate that as well.
Nice. I appreciate that, Tyler. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
A question for you as well is like, because it's always interesting to hear how, some people think differently, but like, did you expect that you guys would kind of like hit the ground running super hard like this? Or what was kind of like your guys' thought process? Like, did you guys expect your guys' self to be here where you guys are at right now this fast?
Yes.
Nice. I like that. I like that
So
a
I
lot.
don't know. We can, and I'll say this, I don't know. If we didn't expect that, I don't think we would have done it.
Mm.
I mean, it's
Mindset is everything. I like that answer a lot. Yeah.
I mean, because it was kind of like a burn the boats thing. I mean, a month ago, we're number 9 in the school games, and we're like, okay, we aren't getting the results we want. What do we have to change? And so we did it. Whereas if we didn't say, yeah, we expect to win, we would have just been like, oh, it's pretty good. We're making some money. We're doing
Yeah.
fine, And so I feel like that expectation is a requirement to do something special. It's very, very rare. Like I come from a sports background, and I've worked with thousands of teams, high achieving coaches and teams. And the teams that win championships are rarely caught by surprise.
Yeah.
Rarely caught by surprise. Like they set that as the goal at the beginning of the season. They held standards of excellence accordingly the entire season, right? They went through the hero's journey of obstacle and challenge. They had to recommit. They had to make changes. They had to go through some pain, and then they overcome a lot of challenge to then achieve. Well, if you don't have that expectation, the moment you hit that adversity, the moment you hit that obstacle, you come up with an excuse, and you're like, "Oh, we'll do it next time. We'll do it next season. It just wasn't meant to be." I think we as human beings would do a lot more to avoid pain than to achieve like pleasure,
Mm.
right? And so, the moment we hit pain, we're like, okay, well, let me just back off a little bit. And so the pain of failure, you have to create that pain of failure as greater than the pain of success. And so that's where I think like the mindset was, yeah, we are winning, no matter what happens.
Nice. I like that. I really like that. And with that being said, if somebody is complacent with kind of or like trying to figure out that mindset and maybe they're like on the fence about like joining course or something like that, like what would you kind of say to that person?
So I think whether let me apply it to my learning situation first and course second.
Yeah.
So many of these online communities are built around a single character or expert or educator. And I think that's a really good playbook, right? Because they have a social following, they're very charismatic, they've got a proven system, whatever, it's fine. But I think what really allowed us to be successful was every one of our communities was built on a team. And, where, Kyle Kazuta, that pickleball guy, is the face of that pickleball school. He's got a big social media following. He's one of the biggest influencers in pickleball. Like he's the face. We have a team of 8 people that are holding each other accountable and encouraging each other and picking each other up when we might fall, right? The same thing for Savvy, right? Like myself and my partner Mark are the basketball experts, but we got a team of 7, that are doing all the things, right? For our local academy, we've got a team of 6, right? So I would really encourage people to get into a community and a team because no single person is going to be able to hold that standard alone for any length of time. So let me connect that to course, right? Like what do you do if you're just starting out and you don't have a team? What do you do if you are alone? You join a community of other people that are doing the same thing, which is what, Course is, right?
Mm.
And so, it's a great place to start as you build. I mean, I think you shared that was your experience as well. Like you were building your agency, then you joined Course, and then you
Mm.
got brought on because you were doing
Mm.
good things. Because there is, I think our like human nature is like we want to build things together. There's energy and synergy in that. And so I think that I would say get yourself around like-minded or greater-minded people, and that's going to be your opportunity to succeed. And that I think is probably the greatest value in course. Even more so than the playbook. Is like if you log in and you see people sharing what they've done, it creates a little bit of accountability.
Nice. Awesome. Tyler, dude, that was awesome. I appreciate you sharing. You guys are on to do some really, really cool things in the future that you guys can 100% exceed to what you guys have already done. But good luck in LA and hanging out with Alex and Sam. That's a pretty cool feat to accomplish. And thank you for jumping on here and being so inspiring and sharing your thoughts.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.